Hello, everyone, and welcome back to SDN Racing as Season 7 rolls on. And tonight we head to the United States Grand Prix for Texas, live from the iconic Circuit of the Americas in COTA. After a dramatic season opener down to Australia, down under, the tone has already been set for what could be a ruthless and unpredictable championship battle. Sasha just could storm to victory with a drive that was simply flawless, blistering pace, mistake-free, and executed it really well, and completely controlled when it mattered because the guys behind him made utterly bad mistakes. And Christian did win initially, but the penalty got removed, and therefore Sasha was reinstated because apparently he picked up 2 warnings in one go. So that, as a result of that, his penalty was removed. But behind him, Christian batched up with a brilliant second place where Fireblaze climbed onto the podium in third after a strong recovery drive from deep on the grid. It was also a difficult night for some of the big names expected to fight for the win. Mels Makis was one of them. He had pole position, but Cosmos mistakes opened the door, and once again Happy Mail was left watching another win slip from his hands, despite the potential being there. And now our focus is drawn towards Texas, United States for qualifying. My name is Indigo, or Jamie as you like to call me, and alongside me tonight is Milan Lange. How are you doing? Hoe gaat het?
Het gaat goed, dankjewel. Yeah, it's great to be back. Texas is always a fun track, especially in league racing. So I'm looking forward to what we are seeing tonight, especially after last week's race. It's very entertaining, a very good race with some interesting moments as well. But we kick off with qualifying as per usual, Q1, Q2, and Q3. And it looks like we might have a full lobby. At least we have 19 at the moment. So Q1 actually might matter for the first time in a while. So we might see some names dropping out very early. But Olijfolie in the McLaren is out on track first. And we'll see what he is going to be able to do. It's a bit cloudy up in the skies, but I don't think the track will be worse than it usually can be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Of course, these lap times not really representative to what we'll see later on in Q3. But it's all about getting through into the next part of qualifying, so we might see some of the drivers taking a little bit of a safer approach, as it's quite easy to get a track limit around this track. Multiple corners, you can run out just a little bit too wide or cut a little bit too much and easily pick up an invalidation. But we might see some more conservative lap times. But Olijfolie is going to start his flying lap as the first driver, and he heads up towards turn 1 uphill braking zone, and then left turning in quite blindly, to be honest. Then up the exit, going back down to the right and in towards the S. Is such a nice, quick and flowing part of the track. It can be quite tricky, especially when the rear end can be a little bit unstable if you run a high wing gap. But Sector 1 seems quite clean so far from the McLaren, keeping it nicely within the white lines, not taking too many risks. Slight correction there on the exit, now heading towards the braking zone of turn 11 into this hairpin. You really want to get the best exit possible, because you will have this very long back straight to deal with all the way towards the braking zone of turn 12. So a little bit of ERS deployment, and then the DRS will open as well. One of the Haas drivers on the left hand side getting out of the way very nicely indeed. You can really cut the inside to this corner, but Olijfolie taking it safe there and not taking that risk just yet. 101.3 is the middle sector, now into the final sector, the most twisty part of the track with lots of different corners. And now into the braking zone there of turn 15, then to the triple right-handers. Erik has left the session, let's hope he gets back in time to do a lap time. But then after the triple right-hander, only the last 2 corners await us. And first is his very quick left-hander, which can be quite tricky on track limits as well. Down to the final corner, slight moment of correction on the exit, but the first lap time on the board is going to be a 1:31.768, putting Olijfolie for a brief moment at the top. But there's quite a few drivers who are on the lap as well. And it's Kevin going side by side there with one of the Haas drivers going into the final corner. But Kevin, he was on the intermediate, so he was actually on a lap as well. And it was Sheepy Gamer in the Haas who was on the slicks going for a push lap. But of course, the slicks being much quicker, he caught up to the back of the Alpine halfway through the lap and had to fight it out with him in the final corners of this lap. So not an ideal lap there for Sheepy Gamer, and can definitely go much quicker. I'm going to be very happy with Kevin there for a moment. In the meantime, Happy Meal has gone quickest now with a 1:31.4.
Indeed, you had Lucas cross the line, but of course, is on those intermediate compound ties. And you got to be really careful as well because you've got to identify who is ahead of you. Because obviously, Q1, people like to waste time to get this, just to make the time go down quicker and go not down. It's, of course, don't want to go to soft compound ties at this stage because some people just want to save a set for Q2, potentially Q3. But we know the people who are likely to be up there inside the top 10, they don't want to waste a set of compound ties because they want all the chances available to them on their last flying runs in Q3. That's why we see some people on the intermediate compound ties. So I do it as well because I know I can, well, sometimes now, but I actually don't know if I can make it through Q1 or Q2 on this game. But in the previous games, when I was at my peak and really quick, I was always doing that strategy too. It's not really a strategy, it's just a bit of fun and just kill a bit of time, really, isn't it? But so far, we've got Happy Meal on pole, provisional pole with the 31.440. Now, this man has been trying to go for a win for such a long time here in SDN. He was his championship rival, a Sheepy Gamer, who goes P3 in the Haas. But I think Happy Meal beat Sheepy Gamer to win the Division 2 championship. But the Red Bull driver is looking for glory for the first time in Division 1. It's been taken away from him quite a lot. Well, I say quite a lot this season. It's only been one race, but quite a lot in the past as well, as Thomas goes up into P4 in the nice livery of the Racing Bull. The Racing Bull livery just came out as well a couple of days ago, but he pops that Racing Bull into P4. We don't see a lot of action so far. We're just waiting for the dying stage to Q1. Q1 is all about getting inside the top 15, but we have our usual suspects who are likely end up down there as well. And I know it's harsh to say, but the likely suspects you're probably looking for, it's not Tavia. Ticey's like, no, Ticey's a enigma. We just don't really know what he's like, to be honest with you. Same with Mum and Nick, because sometimes they have blistering pace, and Mum and Nick really slides for the first set of theirs. We make our way now towards the top of turn 9 and turn 10, where Sebastian Vettel broke his suspension back in 2019. Of course, 2019 was the year that Valtteri Bottas won, I think, after beating Lewis Hamilton, as he was on a 2-stop strategy, whilst Hamilton was on a 1-stop indeed. It was a great race from Valtteri Bottas. I think he took pole and the win as well. And Happy Meal says, well, that's not going to be enough, I bet, obviously, because it's Q1, early doors, the track hasn't rubbed it in properly yet, and it's your first flying lap, so that probably won't be enough, but it probably will be enough for Q1, let's just say. I'm not quite sure what the cut-off time could be here in this session, but there is only 10 minutes left to go in qualifying as Colin goes back in the pit lane in P5 there as well. Sasha is P6, but he's on the intermediate compound tyres. Don't expect him to do much at that stage. What's Tyson going to do? Let's go on board with him. I was on board with Mummy Nick, but for some reason I flicked off board. Let's see what he does there. Coming through the final 2 corners we go. Just be careful. Keep it within the boundaries of the white lines. And now we head towards the final corner. Just pick up the throttle really gingerly as we head towards line. It's P6 from Mum and Nick. Now, both Kick Salpers were inside the top 10 in qualifying, but for some reason they just dropped down the order. I think Mum and Nick had a problem on the first lap, whilst his teammates suffered too in the process. But Tyson now is making his way through these combinations of corners when we saw both Mercedes fights back in 2015. Nico Rosberg versus Hamilton. Rosberg should have won, but unfortunately made that largest mistake out of turn 16, unfortunately. Just a massive wheel spin, went off the track, and Lewis Hamilton won the race and the championship on that day with Sebastian Vettel in P2 and Nico Rosberg P3. Here goes Tyson towards the final corner now. Let's see what the man in the Sauber could do. He goes up into P3. Not too bad, but I dare say that needs to improve to try to secure himself inside the top 15.
Indeed, the same can be said about his team. And Dominic had a really messy lap. We saw that moment earlier on in Sector 1, but there was multiple moments in that lap where he left a lot of time on the table. So not an ideal lap for him so far, as he's currently the slowest out there on the slicks. And that for a man who was in Q3 just a week ago. But we'll definitely see him go a little bit quicker towards the end. But now it's getting a little bit more busy on track. And actually by the big names as well, with Lucas, Kevin, Erik, Kik and Farblaze all out on track, and so is Mills and Jaser Green in the Aston Martin, going on for a spin there in the middle of the S's, hitting the wall and damaging his front wing, and that is not ideal for his lap time. He has to pull out of the way there for the Williams, and will have to come back into the pit lane to replace that front wing, which is going to cost him quite a bit of time. So not ideal for his qualifying session so far. But let's take a look at Mels Marquez in the Mercedes. Obviously very quick he was last week at Melbourne. Not quite quick enough to take away the window, as he was busy in a fight with Happy Meal for the majority of the race, as he makes his way now coming out of turn 11. I expect him to be up there with the time of Happy Meal when he finishes his lap in a few moments time. We'll keep an eye out on Erik and Kik and everyone else as well, who was out on their first lap on the slicks, as majority of the top guys did their first lap on the intermediates. 101.1 in the middle sector. I think that is comparable to what Happy Meal just done. A bit of a moment there though, coming out of turn 13, then accelerating out of 15. And once again, that triple right-hander really hugging the inside line a lot, even cutting across the curb a little bit, but not by too much, and keeping it within the white lines. And now through the penultimate corner, a bit of traffic up ahead, but I don't think they will be in his way. That's the Williams of Kik, I think, just starting his lap right now. But here comes Mels across the line for a 31.530. Not quite the time of Happy Meal, just under a tenth away from the Red Bull, but putting himself in P2, which should be enough for him to make it through into the next part of qualifying. Then we've got Erik on a lap as well in the Red Bull, now making his way towards the same braking zone of turn 12. Let's see what his middle sector will be. Actually, I think he's backed off 105.7, so he's back. They must have made a mistake on this lap and will not push on. Kik then behind to the Williams and Kevin as well. And Kevin has invalidated his quickest lap so far, so not having a great qualifying session, at least so far for the Alpine driver. He once again finds himself invalidating. But what about Kik and his teammate Lucas, both on that back straight, now heading towards the braking zone of turn 12. Let's see how they compare in the middle sector as it comes out there of turn 12. It's a 101.3, so 2 tenths away from Hamels, but like I said before, it's all about getting towards Q2, and if they do a mid to high 31, I think they will definitely be safe of making it into the next part of qualifying. Now going through turns 16, 17 and 18 and in towards the left hand as Fireblaze goes P4. Bit of a moment there from Lucas as he tried to turn quite early, but I realized it was a little bit too early and then had to correct it mid corner, and he comes across the line for a 31.6 to go just ahead of Olijvoli and Fireblaze. Kik then goes to a new quickest lap time, 31.263, just under 2 tenths ahead there of Happy Meal. Kik, always a strong contender in qualifying, and tonight seems no different so far, and that will definitely be enough to make it through. Mark then goes B5 with a 31.6 in the Aston Martin, and we still have to wait for Kevin and Erik to set their lap times, both having to go back into the pit lane after their first runs. They will only have one lap at the end, so a bit of pressure on both of those drivers, but we know that they're more than well enough to perform under pressure and should be able to make themselves through into Q2. It's I'd say as well. 5.5 minutes remaining. Kik at the top. Happy Meal and Mels both retired already, knowing they are safe with the Williams of Lucas in P4, but there's still 4 drivers at the bottom who haven't set a lap time just yet.
Indeed, then Kevin Zundberg makes his return back to SDN after having Abu Dhabi off. He was there in Abu Dhabi, but he had to leave quite early due to having WO war at the time, so he had to evade the session earlier. But a 10-time race winner last season was Kevin Zundberg, and a handy, competitive driver. All says, is it enough? I think, don't ask me, just do it on your based on your own reactions. I don't want to tell you just in case that you blame me for it, but I don't know if it's enough or not, just on your own judgment. Just Sasha goes up into P4 in the Ferrari with a 31.573, so once again a strong competitive lap time. Of course, I know Sasha from JSR, and I'm judging him on lap pace there as well, and he is a very quick driver. Of course, he did win the Australian Grand Prix after having incredible pace and also mistake free as well, because he barely made any sort of mistakes. Yes, I think he got held in the pit lane for quite a long time behind his team, or it could be somebody else, but he still won the Grand Prix after a mega race, and Fireblaze came back strong as well. Where is Fireblaze, in fact? He is down in P8 in the Mercedes then, so he did struggle in qualifying, didn't he, last week, outside the top 10, which is surprising there for Fireblaze, given the caliber and talented driver he is. But JSR Green in the Aston Martin, out of turn 10 we go then. He did make a mistake on his first run, just went off the ES section, but hopefully this time it's an improvement for the Aston Martin, a desperate improvement, because there is only 4 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, and so far the people in danger: Kevin, Eric, Saltavia, JSR Green, obviously Hutton Cass as well, Colin, TVHNL, Thomas as well. All of them are in danger and desperately need to improve. Let's see how JSR Green does. Locks up going in towards turn 15. Want to open up the corner there to get the best of runs and exits you possibly can as we head down towards this triple right-hander. Should be fully flat out, which it is. Use the battery has remaining, flicking in towards the final 2 corners we go on this racetrack. It's all about keeping it clean in this final corner we go. Bit hesitant there, flicks the car in, gets back on the throttle. Can he get himself inside the top? Yes, he can. It goes up into P10, which is decent enough for the Aston Martin driver, but when it comes to Q3, he could be under that pressure. What about Jens? Jens Hattekas has invalidated on that flying lap, and there is 3 minutes left to go in this session. He desperately needs to back off there. Did he just do it in turn 12? I'm not quite sure, but he's quite low on the battery, and what will he decide to do? Once again, Hattekas is on the back foot. His blistering pace, unfortunately, struggling here at the start of the season. Australia, in USA as well, Texas, which can be a demanding, difficult circuit, especially for people on the pad, as he rides over the curb there on the grass, back in the pit lane. He is on the verge of being knocked out of Q1. Hattekas is in massive danger here in USA. He best pray that he can get in and out as quick as he can to make sure he makes it through Q2, sorry. But Kevin Zundberg, on the other hand, is on another flying lap. Make sure he doesn't validate. Kevin Zundberg, we know he's a driver to get himself in towards Q2 and Q3, but sometimes drivers go over their heads a little bit as well, and they desperately want to push hard as they can to see what pace they've got. Kevin Zundberg at turn 10 there, suffering massive wheel spin. Now has the DRS open on the back straight, but like I was saying, some people like to gun for it in Q1 because they want to see what type of pace they've got and explore the boundaries of the track. As we head down towards the heavy braking zone we go, slow the car down, nicely done there on the exit for Kevin Zundberg. His middle sector is going to be a 101.245. Now, in this last part of this racetrack, it's very vital, very critical for Kevin Zundberg not to validate, because this will be potentially his last flying lap. So hopefully in turn 19 and turn 20, there is no mistakes whatsoever. He's got to keep it nice and clean in these final 2 corners. Let's see how he progresses. Let's see what he does. Does it nicely through 19, coming towards the final corner. Just keep it nice and tight on the throttle. Let's hope he does anyway as he makes his way now towards the line. He goes. It's a 31.3, and he goes up into P2. Meanwhile, his teammate is on his out lap. Now, this is going to be a very tight situation for Hattekas in the RP. Look at him cutting corners as well. He desperately wants to make it towards the line. He is in massive trouble, and so is Eric, but Eric is on a flying lap. He comes towards turn 9 and turn 10. What can the Flying Dutchman do in the Red Bull as he heads down towards turn 11? He goes. I don't think that Hattekas will be backing off. He's pushing. In fact, I think Hattekas is behind Eric. He is. So as we exit turn 11, let's see what Eric does then as he makes his way now towards the back straight. DRS wide open on the straight, and we'll see what his middle sector is like in comparison to his own. In fact, he doesn't have one because it hasn't got a lap time. As we head down towards turn 12 we go. Let's see how it does. It's very easy to make a mistake at the exit of the corner. Now coming towards these slow speed corners here. Just gradually put on the throttle there. Make sure you break traction as we open up turn 15 now. Flip the car in, kind of speed through, back to the throttle again as we now head towards these triple right-handers. We've got a Ferrari or Haas in the way, which they do get out of the way now, luckily for him. Coming through turn 19 to turn 20, there is 20 seconds left to go on the clock. Eric's final lap time. What is it going to be for the Red Bull driver? Is he in trouble? Is he out of Q1? Can he make it through? The answer to the question is yes. He goes up into P6, and he's a driver we expect to make it inside that top 15. Elsewhere, TVHNL, Colin is on a lap time. No, he isn't. He's invalidated, so he's out of Q1. Where's Hattekas? He's been in towards the line, Milan.
Yes, just in time by only a few seconds. He exited the pit lane with 1 minute and 35 seconds to go, and he cut every single corner on his outlap, and he's just made it in time. But now he just has to keep it. The windows white line's not over yet for him, as he still needs to perform a lap time good enough to make it through into the second part of qualifying. But there's others out there as well who are still trying to improve. Octavia is one of them, and so is TVHNL, Thomas, Mominik. Mominik in fact has invalidated, so Mominik is P14 right now, and he might be at risk of dropping out of Q1, especially if Geitenkaas will be able to improve, and maybe TVHNL or Thomas right behind, who is only 10,000th of a second away from the kickstarter's time. Mominik drops down to P15 because Octavia's gone P14, so Mominik could be out of qualifying. Here comes Thomas to the start-finish line in the RB. Where's he going to go? P13, and Mominik is out in Q1. TVHNL improves as well to go P16, but he doesn't make it. And then we look at Geitenkaas, who's up by 3 seconds on his PB, which was of course set on the intermediates. But all he needs to do is just keep it within the white lines, and he will be easily through into the next part of qualifying. Everyone else has finished their lap time. TVHNL, Mominik and Colin are already out of qualifying. It will be Octavia Or would it be Geitenkaas who comes out of the penultimate corner really, really slow as he misses the apex? But the most important, he has kept the window at wide lines very close there on the inside of the final corner. He crosses the line to go. B13 just about makes it through, and Xavier is knocked out.
Indeed, indeed. He is on the bubble. He just made it through, did Geitenkaas there, so which tells me he's going to struggle in Q3. He didn't look comfortable at all on his final lap, make mistakes left, right, centre. Made a big mistake in towards turn 19, just drifted out wide. So the car doesn't look caught up. He doesn't seem comfortable. He told me early in the day that he doesn't feel comfortable here at Texas. So he might be struggling, and it might lead into a poor result, unfortunately. So Australia, he struggled. Here in USA, he'll struggle as well. Look at the Dutch flags there as well. Loads. I think every single person here is a Dutchman. But Kick is on provisional pole with a 31.263. And a lot of times they're very close towards the top end of the field. Then it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in towards Q2. Fireblaze, however, as well, in P10 could be on the verge of being knocked out in Q3, so hopefully it doesn't, but it's looking very close so far. Our usual suspects towards the front end of the field as well. Lucas is back as well, let's not forget to mention, because he did miss the Australian Grand Prix. The man that won it 2 seasons ago when he was ahead of Kick, and I think it was Zach or Matisse at the time when they were racing. They're both AMS Alpine drivers, but they're gone now. But Lucas is back, and let's see what he could do. Of course, he's good teammates with Kick. They work in harmony together, work really well, and articulate the strategy together as well. They're good at communicating, good at orchestrating, good at battling, and just good teamwork in general as well. But in JSR, they are rivals, which is weird to see, because when those two were battling so hard in JSR, it was so weird because they always work together well here in SDN. So it's a massive contrast to JSR, but in SDN, they are friends, but in JSR they are rivals, and they're both on a similar pace level as well. I'm not quite sure who I can say who's quicker out of those two, because they've both got the strengths and weaknesses literally in different races. I think Lucas won a Grand Prix last season at the Zandvoort Grand Prix when Kick pulled over to let Lucas win. But I do believe Kick did win a Grand Prix last season. I can't remember which one. I do have it up in front of me here. But I think he definitely taken the win, because he definitely had the pace to do so. We know Kick is a very handy driver indeed. He won. It says he won at the Dutch GP in the sprint, but he won in Silverstone. Now I do remember it was a Williams 1-2, wasn't it? And Christian was chasing down both Williams, but unfortunately Christian, I think, made a mistake and got left behind, and he was in the clutches of Fireblaze. But Fireblaze spun out of Luffield. Definitely remember that day. It was Kick who came out on top. But now inside Q2. The main objective here now in this session is to make it through inside the top 10 and decipher who will take pole and who will be on the other side of the wrong line in 11th place downwards then. So it's hard to say really who are the suspects going to be. Is that front wing damage you just saw off the back of the Alpine or the front of the Alpine? Luckily it was. I think it was a bit of carbon fibre, but the Alpine driver made contact with the Red Bull, I think, just slightly. But luckily neither driver has damage or fireplace capability, because the penalty is the last thing we want. We don't want a lobby restart, because it delay the time even further. But in this Q2 sessions then, I think a lot of drivers will feel the pressure, because given the time in the first qualifying session, every single driver was close, and it's so compacted, this grid then. So in this session, the pressure is more ramped up, and we'll see who can soak up the pressure or who will crumble under the pressure.
Every single driver out on track except for Thijs in the Sauber. We will see him out on track later on, but first to start their flying lap is Lucas in the Williams as he comes out of the final corner. There's a whole train of cars right behind him following him through, and I do wonder if these drivers are on a used set of softs or if they are on a brand new set. That's the Sauber on the inside now coming out on track, almost hitting the back there of Lucas, and it's a bit of an awkward time for him to come out just as everyone behind him is starting their flying lap. Let's hope he doesn't get into the way of anyone. But Lucas flicking his way through the S's so far at the end now of sector 1. He can really cut across the inside curve there and get away with it, as he does so as well. Now coming out, want to get a good exit out of it. Can be quite tricky with traction and with the back end wanting to step out, but he keeps it nice and clean so far and heading towards the braking zone of turn 11, where really multiple lines are possible in the race as well. But for qualifying, you just want to focus on that exit, because it is going to be flat out all the way towards turn 12. So he gets the exit quite nice there, deploys the battery, opens the DRS, and out towards that braking zone. Let's see how much he is going to be able to cut the inside. How much does he want to cut the inside? Just that much then, and it looks quite handy for him. With a 101.4 in the middle sector, not a bad second sector, not a bad lap so far, and could be around the times we just seen in Q1, and maybe a tenth or two off now. Coming out of turn 15, and then flat out all the way towards the penultimate corner. Blowing some battery through here as well. You want to keep some for that final stretch and the run towards the finish line. And that inside curve can be taken quite aggressively as well. And now coming out of the final corner, what is the lap time? Gonna be a slight moment of correction twice there on the exit. 31.643 is the time there. Off-leaks, the time to beat. And Happy Meal with a 32.0 tells me he did that lap on a used set of tires. Kevin as well then with a 32.4 only. Not really a happy representative lap time for the Alpine drivers. Erik goes quickest though with a 31.482. That is more like it. And goes to provisional pole position. Geitengas with a 32.5. He of course would have to do that on unused set as well, as he had to use multiple in Q1 trying to make it through. Thomas then a 33.2. Then it's the two Mercedes drivers of Mels going to P3 with a 0.9. And what about Fireblaze? He goes P5 with a 32.3. Oleivo though goes quickest with a 31.2, which definitely will be on a new set of tires. Then it's the Aston Martin of Mark to go up to 8th place with a 0.4. Sasha back into the pit lane, so he might have invalidated that run as well. And then it's the RB of, I'm not so sure actually who will just cross the line, was the Williams of Kick going P3 with a 31.5. And that leaves just 3 drivers out there to not set a lap time, but after the first runs, it is Oleivo the quickest ahead of Erik and Kick. But of course you don't know which of these drivers did it on an old set and which did it on a new set, but I have a feeling that the likes of Happy Meal, Fireblaze, Kevin, Mark, Geitengas all did it on a used set of softs that they used in Q1, so they will be able to get quicker in the middle part of this qualifying session. Ticey then the Sauber on the lap time as well, and Jason Green and Sasha unfortunately did not complete their lap time or invalidated, and will have to do one later on in the session. But Oleivo at the moment quickest in Q2, just over 2 tenths ahead of Erik.
Indeed he is then. Well, we saw him at the Australian Grand Prix. He was very quick. I think he was stuck in that DRS train majority of the time, finished in P4, so he definitely got the quick, he's definitely quick. But I think he made a few mistakes along the way in the first stint, because I remember him dropping away. His teammate JSR Ryan at the time, he let him through because I think Olai tried to go for some audacious launches down the inside, but it didn't make it stick and put him out of shape and let the guy behind through. So we'll see what he can do here in USA, and he's quick in JSR as well, so I expect him to see at the top end of the field is Ollie in P1 there. Apologies for mispronouncing the name of course, but Dutch words there for you. Oh, in fact everybody here is Dutch except me. But we've got Sasha out on an out lap. I'm not quite sure, we did see every single driver out there on their first lap, so I think Sasha invalidated or made a mistake on his lap. Tyson got up to P7 there. Olai's listening, he says it's no worries. Oh, thank you, Olai, appreciate it so much, mate. But Sasha in 15th place there as well, and he's definitely a driver that can make it through inside of the top 10. It's all about piecing the lap together. Qualifying merchant and new tyres, that's why I'm here, says Olai in first place. So you can definitely tell he's gone for a brand new set of the soft compound tyres. Happy Mill says an old set, which we know because that's his pace is 6 tenths slower than his lap time in Q1 of 31.4. But it's going to be interesting, you know, what the cut-off time could be. It could be a high 31 or mid 31, but we'll see. We'll see what the cut-off time. It could be extremely tight amongst these drivers, as it always be in this qualifying session here in USA, Texas. A demanding, difficult circuit, 5.3 kilometers long, loads of elevation changes as well, fast corners, medium speed corners, and it is just so difficult as well. First introduced back in 2012, when Indianapolis was the last race in F1 in USA. Then of course Texas Texas made its debut in 2012. Going to go on board with JSR Green. I think Lewis Hamilton was the first one to win the USA Grand Prix 2012. It was him versus Sebastian Vettel, if I remember, in that year. Then 2013, it was Vettel who won with extraordinary drive, and Kovalainen as well, qualifying inside the top 10, making his debut back in F1 after Raikkonen had his sorry about that. Something to do with surgery, I can't remember what it was, but Raikkonen had to miss 2 races and Kovalainen took his place. But Kovalainen didn't do any good either because he finished in 14th both times. But he did make it through to Q3 in here in USA. 2014 it was Hamilton versus Rosberg in that year. Hamilton won ahead of Rosberg, and I think Daniel Ricciardo finished in P3 at the time. Then 2015 it was Hamilton, Rosberg again, but Rosberg bottled. But the best race, I think, here in USA, well, I'm not quite sure. I think it's 2018 when it was Kimi Raikkonen who won his first race since Australia 2013. That was a tremendous race indeed. And Raikkonen started on the ultra soft tyres as Green makes his way towards the line. He goes up into P10. So just made it in by 1,000th of a second. But I dare say that'll be obliterated because Kevin Sundberg, I presume, is on a new set of the soft compound tyres. As we watch him flick his way through the first sector, he's already 2 and a bit tense up there. So definitely improving, definitely a new set, and definitely be a contender to get himself inside the top 10. Mark and just Sasha is also on their flying laps as well. I think Sasha's coming towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack. There he is then, as he makes his way now towards the quick left-hander with Lewis Hamilton. Spun there, I think, last year or the year before. Coming in towards the final corner now for Sasha. A bit of a twitch on the exit there. Let's see what he can do. That's not really a good lap time, is it? 32.1. So on the well, I'm not quite sure if this is a new set or used set of soft compound tyres. It says 1 lap there, so this could be an old set of soft compound tyres. But if it is his true pace, then it's going to be a bit of trouble, I dare say. Kevin Sundberg is coming through turn 15 now, using the extremities of the track there as well. We've seen a lot of battles headed down towards turn 15 because you could go side by side and switch lines all the way through towards turn 12 as Kevin now makes his way towards the final 2 corners on this racetrack. The champion from last season is making his way towards the finish line. He goes. It's going to be a 31.1, and that is a provisional pole position for Kevin Sundberg as he's back on top as he usually is. As we see now, Lucas Happy Meal though crosses the line, and he has invalidated his lap time.
Indeed he has. He would have set a 31.2, which would have put him in second place just behind Kevin, but unfortunately he invalidated, meaning he's still down in P9 and has limited time to still set a lap time, so he might be in a little bit of trouble. Let's hope he's not though, as Mark now goes to P5 in the Aston Martin. For almost 5 tenths away. Lucas comes across the line and he goes to P3 with a 31.4. Now ahead of Eric and Kick still in pit lane. Mills is on the lap as well. He's up by 5 tenths of a second so far after the first 2 sectors and could put himself up inside the top 3 if he finishes this lap time cleanly as well. As he comes towards those final few corners. There's 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session, so a few drivers really going out of sync and going out quite early compared to the majority of the field still in pit lane. Here comes Mills to cross the line, goes quickest there with a 31.006, 1.5 tenths ahead of Kevin, and that is quite a good lap time there from Mills in Q2, and that for sure will be good enough for him to make it through into the final part of qualifying. We've got 4 minutes to go. Happy Meal has to go back into the pit lane, but he's got a little bit more time now than Geitika's had in Q1. So he has around 3.5 minutes, and then he can go back out in time to prepare for one final run. And so could Mark, I think, in the Aston Martin. He's on P7, so wouldn't really say that he is safe, especially with a few drivers out there behind who could definitely improve. Sasha is one of them in the Ferrari. He had so many moments then on his lap, especially on those final 2 corners. Really struggled to get the turn in, and eventually ended up in P11 for what would have been an easy, I think, top 8 at least. So I've already retired from the session. He knows he's safe, so did Kevin, and Lucas and Mills probably will be safe as well. But Eric now goes out on track in the was the first one to do so of the rest of the field who haven't set a lap time so far. And the first one to do so for his final run with 3 minutes to go. Currently sat in P5, so I wouldn't really say that. Well, is he really safe? The gap to Happy Meal is half a second, but we know that quite a few drivers down there did their first run on a used set of tires, and you can really easily improve by half a second when you switch from a used set to a brand new set. So I think Eric is just going out just to be safe, as you really don't want to get knocked out while sitting in the garage without even attempting to set a quicker lap time. So that's why going out on track in the Red Bull. So we'll see what he is going to be able to do. Want to get him at least up inside the top 3 in the times of Olaf, Odie and Kevin, maybe even Mills. We'll see if he's going to be able to beat that. But it was quite a quick lap time, already nearing the 130 mark, which I think we will definitely see in Q3. But will we see it in Q2 as well? That is the question. It's up to Eric and probably Kick to decide that. and both now out on the lap. Kick then the Williams in P6, definitely can go quicker than that, but it is very easy to invalidate, and that can really make or break your qualifying session and see yourself getting knocked out in Q2. But Erik then starts his final flying lap, heading upwards in towards turn 1, getting the turn in nice and early, and then accelerating downwards once again towards those as Mark has to retire from the session in P7, and that is a little bit of a risk because I don't think he'll be that safe. It could be quite close for him if he makes it through into the final part of qualifying. We'll see, as Erik already found around 0.2 of a second in sector 1, so he's already nearing the time of Olijvoli, but still 2/3 of the lap remaining. So it's a good start to his flying lap. There's quite a few drivers ahead of him who are on their out laps. Let's hope they will not get into the way of the Red Bull as he comes down out of turn 11 with around 60% battery to deploy, and he's going to use that all the way down this back straight with the DRS open as well. Up ahead, that is 2 Red Bulls, I think. Our teammate actually giving a nice slipstream there from Happy Meal, gaining maybe a few hundredths of a second, then turning into turn 12. Let's see how much time he's gained after the first 2 sectors. Now up by almost 0.5 of a second. This could very well be a 1 minute 30, but he's struggling a little bit then in the final sector with a few moments of oversteer on the corner exit of turn 13 and 14. Now coming out of turn 15 and flat out once again through this triple right-hander, deploying everything off the battery. There's a Ferrari there on the left-hand side of Sasha getting out of the way, and just 1 corner remains as he's ran out of battery completely, so he cannot use anything. Coming out of the final corner, let's see where this lap time will bring him. He crossed the line for a 30.856, and that is a new quickest lap time, and Erik is going to make it through into Q3.
What a superb, sensational lap time there for Amos Erik in the Red Bull. Of course, he didn't participate at the Australian Grand Prix, but here in USA, he puts an absolute display of pace, does the Red Bull driver. But what about his teammate down there in P10, who's almost on the wrong side? He's flying down towards turn 2 and turn 3. So almost every single driver who hasn't retired is on the circuit right now and gunning for their last flying lap. Fireblaze is in trouble. He's only 2/10 up. This is not a good lap time, for Fireblaze. It could put him into P9 territory, but he does need to find a little more time to guarantee his safety to get himself into Q3 then. So Fireblaze is in trouble. Mark says risky retire. He's in P7 with a 31.6. It could be a risky one indeed. Here comes Fireblaze now towards the final corner. He goes up into P5. That's a mega final sector there for Fireblaze, which pretty much, I think, almost guarantees his safety. Mark gets pushed into P8. Here comes Kick towards the line now. A bit of a wiggle on. Going to the final corner. Goes quickest with a 30.7, and it's a blistering lap time there. What about Happy Meal? What about the Racing Bull driver of Thomas? What's he going to do now? Has he crossed the line? He stays in P14. Does Thomas. What about Khatikas? He's about to make his way towards the line. He goes inside the top 10. Great lap time there, but he may be in trouble from Happy Meal and other people around him. Sasha, one of them. Sheepy Gamer could potentially be a threat. Here comes Happy Meal now towards the final corner. He goes. First of all, it's Sasha now. Let's see what the Ferrari could do as he makes his way towards the line. Only P10. Here comes Happy Meal now. Can he beat him? He can. He goes up into P5. And what about Sheepy Gamer in the Haas? Where is he? Coming towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack. He is not a threat to anybody. But Khatikas has made it through inside the top 10. But Sasha, unfortunately, has been knocked out, which is a big surprise. I thought he had the pace in Q1, but it seems like overall he was struggling, and Khatikas, who had his doubts, we had his doubts to make it inside the top 10, has made it through and put himself into P10. Mark just escaped from being knocked out there, only in P9, but luckily he is in, and look at that, a full display of Dutchman's inside the top 10, and this is going to be interesting. 2 people inside the 30s, which is Kick and Erik, and Mels Mackis is a P3, just almost inside the 30s. This is going to be an intense qualifying session now. The pressure is truly ramping up amongst these drivers, and it's going to be a display of who can soak up the pressure and who can find the absolute limits around this 5.3 tricky kilometre circuit around Texas and Kota. What a last few laps going to have between these guys in qualifying.
Indeed, they have, and yeah, our championship leader Sasha getting knocked out in Q2. Not really what you want to see, and he's just saying giving the rest of them a chance. But I know he is probably a little bit frustrated with not making through, as it's going to be a difficult race then, starting from P11 in the middle of the field. You want to get up as soon as possible, get up as high as you can, and stay within that leading train. Otherwise, it will be a very difficult evening for him. But we move on to Q3. And the final top 10 will find it out who is going to start on pole position. But as per usual, expect a few drivers going out on a used set, like we saw in Melbourne as well from a few drivers. So really don't know if these lap times will be in contention for pole position. But going out early is the Alpine of Geitengaas, who did make it through, to my surprise, into Q3 just about by I think a tenth of a second then towards Sasha in the end. But well, GG's to him. But I think he's going to have to go on a used set because he used quite a few so far in qualifying. And right behind him, or right beside him just then, was Olijvoli in McLaren, who was quite impressive in Q2 as well. Didn't have to do a final run. His first lap time was good enough to make it through into Q3. So let's see if he can replicate that. It was a low 31, I think a 31.2 is what he said in the end. But we saw Kick with a 30.7, which is half a second quicker still. So that is more the times we'll be seeing in Q3. As well as out on track are both Red Bulls now of Erik and Havermill. Erik was very quick as well in Q2. Only have two drivers to go in the 130s in the end. Melston in the Mercedes going out as well. So quite busy out on track so far in Q3. Olijvoli will be the first one to try and set it out, and he's got the Red Bulls very close behind him. I think that is Havermill. Yes, it is. So let's see if these two are going to fight it out for track position, but it should be the McLaren out in front to kickstart this qualifying session here in Q3, and we'll see what lap time he can bring us.
Look at that, Happy Meal goes through, so he wants to have the spotlight first, so we'll give him the spotlight, because usually we give the people who go out first the spotlight. Here we are on board with Happy Meal as he rounds the final corner. I'm not quite sure if this is a new or used set of Soccer Power tyres, but we'll treat it as a new set as we now climb towards a steep uphill off camber, turn 1 corner, looking for the black box to the right side. Braking hard in towards turn 1 there. The uphill off camber will provide you grip as well as we head through turn 2. Simple, flat out corner before we make our way now towards this swooping left to right hander all the way through Maggots and Beckett's like esque as well. Coming towards the end of the first sector, it's going to be a 24.8 as he makes his way now towards the top of the hill towards turn 9 and turn 10, which can be very difficult because the back of the car just wants to step on you as well as we now head down towards another heavy braking zone. A sharp left-hander braking in the middle of the 150 meter board, now down to the gears, riding over the curb on the exit as well, riding on the curb on the exit at turn 11 with the DRS wide open, deploying the battery he has left in his disposal, burning it all down towards the end of the back straight. Braking at the 100 meter board once again, down to the gears. You can really cut the apex here, attack the apex in towards turn 12, back to the throttle again. It's a 1.555 in the middle sector for Happy Meal as he now makes his way towards these slow speed corners, coming towards turn 15, trying to open the corner here to get a good exit as we now get back to the throttle again, or using all the battery towards this triple hand. The left front tyre really takes a lot of punishment here as well as it heats up significantly, coming towards now turn 19 and turn 20, flip the car in, kind of a lot of speed and momentum as well as we arrive towards the final corner. Just goes out wide there and messes up the apex as well. It's a 32.2 and I dare say that lap time was on a used set of Soccer Power tyres as Olai goes quicker with a 31.245, and we can definitely tell that is a new set of the Soccer Power tyres there, but other people with the 30s, so his pace might not be good enough to contend with pole position on board with Kevin Soderberg now in the Alpine. Let's see what he could do as he arrives now towards the final two corners, flick the car in and be very wary of the track limits on the outside as well. Fireblaze goes up to P2 with a 31.5. Kevin Soderberg goes towards pole position. It's a 30.883, and once again what a sensational lap time there for Kevin Soderberg, but we've seen in qualifying so far that 30.7 is the lap time to beat, or the lap time that was the quickest, which is Miles Mackis, who goes towards the top of the field with a 30.791, and he goes back on pole. This is a great start to the season for Miles Mackis as well, displaying what pace he has. And in Abu Dhabi, when he won the Grand Prix, but in Australia, he missed out due to making a mistake at turn 11 when he spun the car around, and he comes back stronger here in USA. But Mark makes his way towards the final corner, and let's see what he could do in the Aston Martin. It's going to be a 31.1 as the Italian Dutchman goes up into P3 ahead of Olai in the McLaren. What about Kick and Lucas and Hattikas? Here comes Kick towards the final corner. He goes back on pole with a 30.766, and once again it is mighty close between first and second place. Kick is back on pole, just narrowly beaten there. Miles Mackis. What can Lucas do in the other Williams? He's exiting turn number 10 right now, heading down the back straight with the DRS wide open. Lucas in the other Williams. Let's see how he performs as we head down towards the heavy braking zone. Let's see if it was up or down. Oh, look at that massive slide going down there into turn 11. His middle sector is a 1.0.29. That's better than what Olai did in the McLaren, as Happy Meal and Olai are doubting their lap times. As Olai says, Ik ook niet man. I'm not quite sure what that means. I think I know what it means, but not quite fully know what the translation is for that one. But as we now come towards the triple hander, flat out before we flip the car, coming towards 19 and 20, but unfortunately he has invalidated on the inside, which is quite rare because the majority of people, they tend to invalidate on the outside, but Lucas did it on the inside.
And it would have been a 30.9, would have put him in P4, but unfortunately the lap time did not count, and he's going to have to try again with 5.5 minutes remaining. And there's really the majority of drivers in pit lane, not out on track and preparing for their final runs. But it was Hamil saying that he didn't think he would get a top 5 around here, and it was Olivoli agreeing with that. I didn't think he would do that either. But at the moment he's in P5, but we still got Erik, Lucas and Geitenkaas to go for a run all the way. Well, with respect, I don't think Geitenkaas will get anywhere near that, as he's been struggling so far in qualifying, as he usually does. Is more handy in race trim. But we've got 5 minutes to go. Everyone will be in pit lane as soon as Lucas comes back into, and it's going to be quite a bit of a quiet situation here around Kota. And we've got a bit of time to prepare for these final runs. So Kick, like he did in Q2, setting a 30.7 with Mels very close behind. Once again, Mels, like you said, has really been strong lately, and he's been showing some incredible pace, like last week at Melbourne, and now here as well at Kota, putting himself in the mix for pole position. Kevin, of course, always a contender in qualifying. He's although he is over a tenth of a second away from the Williams driver, but still in contention, and with an improvement he could get up there. But I think it's going to be between those three. Erik might be involved as well, but he's only going to have one run in the end, as he invalidated his first one. He didn't even complete it, as he went back into the pit lane at the end of his final lap. So we don't know what the lap time would have been either. But we saw that Lucas could manage a 3 as well, but still was around 2 tenths away from his teammate. So I don't think we'll be seeing him fighting it away for pole position. So at the moment I think it's going to be between Kick, Mels and Kevin for pole position, and maybe Erik. But we'll see what he can do on his final run. And we'll have to wait what Lucas and Geitenkaas can do as well on their runs. But first to go out here at the end of Q3 is Olivoli in the McLaren. And setting near enough the exact same lap time as he did in Q2. But this time he's got another one to try and improve when the track conditions are at their best. We've got the optimal track towards the end of the session with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go. The McLaren driver goes out first, and we'll see, can he improve from this? He might be able to get himself to P4 ahead of Mark, but I think to get towards the top 3 might be a little bit of a stretch, because that gap is just a little bit too big, 3.5 tenths to be precise, towards Kevin Zonneberg in the Alpine. But it's still, if he finds a few hundreds or maybe a tenth or two, he could definitely put himself in P4, and ultimately maybe will be able to qualify himself inside the top 5. But we need to have some luck with the likes of Erik and Lucas failing to set a quick enough lap time towards the very end. But everyone else still in pit lane, so it's really Olivoli going a bit out of sync compared to everyone else. Maybe wants to go out early so he has the opportunity to go for a second run if he invalidates his first one, which is something more drivers do usually. I do it sometimes as well, just to have that security, because I sometimes make a mistake on the final run, and then you can try and recharge and go again. As Sasha Plays has joined the session just in time to make it for the race, so it's going to be a full grid then, with 2 Sashas on the grid, and both of them, neither of them starting inside the top 10. But Olivoli is going to come out of the penultimate corner, and he will take us through the very final laps of Q3.
What can Olai do in this final lap of Q3? He's going to encounter a lot of traffic on this lap, so hopefully every single driver who are making their way out of the pit lane right now get out of the way from the McLaren driver. We saw last week, didn't we, with Olai getting blocked in towards turn 1 by Miles Mackis, but this time there is no driver in his sights. He can confidently put down the throttle, knowing that there's nobody in front of him, but he will encounter some people. We've got yellow flags there in the first sector as we flick our way full speed, full commitment through these corners, constant change of direction, so quick indeed, barely enough to top. But look at that, I think he just lost the rear of the car slightly there as well as he clipped the apex and just caused to lose his balance as well. You can see the car just wanted to just slide out every single time as he hits the curb, just losing off balance a little bit as well as we now head towards this tricky braking zone as well. This can be infuriating, this braking zone, because you're just trying to be patient, burning up the throttle, but sometimes you can have massive wheel spin on the exit of that corner. As we head down towards the back straight, we will see most of the overtaking happening around this particular part of the track with the DRS wide open. Expect to see many great battles down here in this particular part of the track as well, but the battles can continue all the way down to this part of the track as well, as these drivers will constantly change lines and some will take it down the inside to try and take advantage as well if they can't get past the DRS straight. But Olai is up by 0.75 of a second there as well, so not enough to promote him. Maybe try and get Mark. That's his closest title, that's his closest rival in this qualifying session, but depends if he can find more time. Massive oversteer. And unfortunately, Mark has validated on his last flying lap. Sorry, Olai has validated on his last flying lap. And I don't think that's 2 tenths quicker, 31.0, which could have got me to P4. But obviously, he validated, so it won't count. But our main contenders, every single driver out there in this qualifying session, bearing in mind that Eric and Lucas and Khatikas haven't got a lap time either, so all three in the back foot because they don't have a reference point and under massive pressure, because if they make a mistake on their final laps, that's P8, P9 or P10 for all three of them there. The top two in this qualifying session are top two back in Australia, but the other way round. It was Miles Mackey in top pole and Kiki P2. But here on this occasion, it's Kick up provisional pole. Kick is improving once again. A mighty, strong first sector for Kick as he continues down in towards turn 12. He goes. The Williams driver, the Dutchman, is on absolute form. The former champion here of SDN. I think he's the season 3 champion of SDN as he makes his way through these complex corners in towards turn 15. Opens the corner really nicely. Gets back on the throttle. Scoops the car up. Full power down, pedal to the metal as we head out towards Kevin Zunderberg goes quickest with a 30.683. What a lap time for Kevin Zunderberg. Pulls out the bag at the very last second, but there's still other people out there. One of them is this man, Kick, as he heads around the final corner. Bit of a wobbly exit, but back on pole with a 30.509. He takes it by a tenth of a second indeed, but Miles Mackis is not done just yet because Miles is 0.2 of a second. He took pole back in Abu Dhabi. He took pole back at the Australian Grand Prix. Is he going to make it 3 for 3? About to find out in a moment of seconds as Miles Mackis rounds the final corner. DRS open. Can Miles do it? The answer is, oh, look at that. The exact same lap time as Kevin Zunderberg. It can't get any closer than that. Look at that. A 30.683. Kevin and Miles Mackis. But obviously Kevin gets it because he set the lap time first. Mark goes up into P5 and Ollie goes or stays in P7. What an end to that qualifying session there. It is Kick on pole position with Kevin Zunderberg in P2, and we got Miles Mackis in P3. But what a qualifying session that was, Milan.
Indeed it was, and look how close it is. Well, not really with Kick. He's up by one tenth and 3/4 ahead of Kevin and Miles, but with the exact same lap time. You don't see it quite often, but it's quite an incredible feat with both Kevin and Miles being quite quick. Eric then got the job done in the end. We'll have to settle for P4, but you can work with that. Mark with a good qualifying session in P5 ahead of Lucas, and Olijvode in 7th, Geitikas in 8th, Fireblaze down in 9th, and it was Happymeal, unfortunately for him, invalidating his final run and will start down in P10. I have a feeling that he's a little bit unhappy about that, seeing his comments in the chat right now, but there is it's a position to work from though. You're still inside the top 10, but you will have to get up the order as soon as possible to mix yourself with the fight at the front. But it's clear sunny skies up ahead here for the race here in SDN. And the question will be, what is the strategy going to be like? I think it's going to be an obvious answer, as it usually is. But around Texas, I think it's just a normal one-stop, mediums to hards, or hards to mediums, however you like it. But you tend to go for the medium tire first, and use the more durable tire of the hards at the end of your stint. So I don't think we'll see any exotic strategy, except of course if there will be safety car. You never know, as it can happen around this track. But Kick on pole position with Kevin alongside him. Getting pole position around here doesn't guarantee you anything, as you really have to play it quite strategically in the race as well. with the DRS zones. Overtaking is more than easy around here. So we have to fend off against Kevin and Mels. We might see some DRS games towards the very end. But first, we just need to get through this opening stage of the race.
We're underway for the US Grand Prix here as we head down in towards turn 1. Kick maintains the lead as we go down in towards the first corner. It's almost 3 abreast. Contact between the Alpine and the Red Bull. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat there. But as we now make our way towards turn 2 and turn 3, it is Kick who leads this race. Milan, take over.
We're halfway through the opening lap. It's everyone's got a clean start so far, but Kik, like you said, is in the lead, ahead of Kevin, ahead of Erik, who's got ahead of Mels. Then it's Lucas, who's got ahead of Olijvode. Then Mark has dropped down to P7, so he's lost 2 positions. Geitica stays in P8. Happy has gained a position to P9, but there's already quite a few drivers with penalties, and it's 4 drivers to be precise, with a drive-through penalty. So I think one of them jumped the start, and 3 of them reacted to it, because Sheepy Gamer, Thomas, Octavia, and DVHNL all got themselves a drive-through penalty. In the meantime, Olijvode is fighting it out with Lucas. He's on the inside, going towards the braking zone. That is Mark trying to find a way past as well. Up the inside, late on the brakes, and goes through. Lucas losing 2 positions there in 1 braking zone. Olijvode back to P5, Mark back up to P6. But he's still got Lucas round his outside through turn 3. We'll turn to the inside line for the next corner, and it's Lucas getting ahead. But Mark goes for the switchback underneath in towards turn 15. But the Williams driver should have the better exit than he does, and he stays ahead of the Aston Martin. Right behind is Geitica side by side with Happy Meal, trying to go all the way around the outside through the triple right-hander. It's a great move, a bold move from Happy Meal, and he takes away 8th place from Geitica. Then it's Sheepy Gamer and Thomas, but they will have to pull into the pit lane quite soon to serve that drive-through penalty that they unfortunately got, and Sheepy Gamer does so immediately. Farblaze then down in P11, then it's Ticey, Octavia, then Sasha Place in P13, starting down in 20th as Octavia's day gets even worse, serving his drive-through penalty, picking up a 10-second time penalty for good measure, as 2 Ferraris of Sasha and Sasha fight it out through turn 1. It's Sasha on the inside, Sasha on the outside, and they're going to go wheel to wheel through the SS, and it's Sasha who gets the job done ahead of Sasha, goes to the inside, and Sasha is back up into P13, and Sasha drops down to P14 again. So they find each other, despite Sasha starting at P11 and Sasha down in P20 at the end of the opening lap. They're right by each other in 13th and 14th place. But at the front, it is Kik who has remained ahead of Kevin and Erik.
DRS enabled on this lap. Here goes Sasha back down the inside of Sasha as he goes to defend, but Sasha backs off for the time being then, and does not go to move. DRS will be enabled on this lap, so maybe he'll try and go back down the inside. Will Kevin take the lead immediately? The answer is yes. Kevin now occupies the lead of the Grand Prix. He decides to put it early and takes the lead of the Grand Prix, whilst Mark is fighting with Lucas for P6. What about the 2 Ferrari boys? Are they sorted their fights out? Yes, they have then. So no teamwork going on there between those two. It's all or nothing between the 2 Sasha boys in 13th and 14th place there as well, as neither driver is willing to back off. I do apologise profoundly about the first lap. I'll explain it to you once things settle down between these guys. As Sasha gets a 3-second time penalty for obvious corner cuts. I just watched that on board him. Mark and Happy Meal, they both swap places, and Mark is up into P7. Mark is struggling there as well. Happy Meal's got some decent pace. He was visibly frustrated in qualifying, was the Red Bull driver. He feels like he could have improved massively, but he didn't quite see what his lap time was, because he wasn't on board with it. But when he made a move down the inside towards turn 1, he's a very aggressive driver. We've seen him make contact before with people in towards the braking zones, but not enough to be alongside as Mark squirms out of the first corner as he just stays ahead of Happy Meal. The last person I want to see behind me is Happy Meal, because we know that sometimes patience is not his virtue, and any opportunity presented to him, he will go down the inside. He will take away your place as well. He will fight to the very death. We saw it back last season when it cost him so much as well. Las Vegas was probably one of them as well, where he made quite a few mistakes, and Australia as well, the biggest mistake yet this first race of the season. But as we exit now, turn 11 we go, DRS on this back straight. Will Happy Meal decide to go for a move? He's right in the clutches, the wheel tracks of the Aston Martin, but of course in this DRS train it's super difficult to overtake, but he's getting closer and closer. Mark is derating. Will he dare go down the inside? Nope, it's a bit too far back. It'll be a audacious move to going down the inside there, so don't want to risk it, and he will stay behind for the time being. But it seems like he's got a better pace in comparison towards the Aston Martin then, so he's trying to get past him as quick as he can to make him some lost car. Down the inside he goes here, in towards 15, he's out of control. He made slight contact with the Aston Martin, but luckily just slowed the car down enough to make sure he didn't bump off the Aston Martin and luckily it was just a lovely gentle tap indeed between those two. No damage is sustained to either driver. Lucas and Hazikas both get a 3-second penalty in the same place as well, presumably down at turn 19, as one of them's in the pit lane. Thomas is in the pit lane. Has he got any damage in that racing ball? Let's see.
Through.
Oh, it's a drive-through penalty. Yeah, you are correct indeed. It is a drive-through penalty there. Fireblaze has lost the connection between the top 10. He seems like, again, he's struggling. He's got Ticey and Sasha behind him as well for good measure, and JSR Green and Mummy Nick, who did drop down to last place momentarily, but he had those people with penalties drop down the order. But yeah, that's the first lap. So what happened to me was I was at the toilet. Then I came back. I had some water. Then I saw that I was standing outside my room looking at the loading screen. Then I ran back whilst I was drinking water. Then it went down the wrong hole, so I couldn't speak properly, and that's why the commentary was so bad on the first lap. So I do apologise profusely there as well on my end. I didn't expect the lobby to get going once again because sometimes it can take ages for a lobby to get going. That's what I was expecting, but luckily I didn't miss the whole lap. But yeah, embarrassing from me. I do apologise. Not my best first opening lap call out, and I do want to apologise about that one indeed. Marks the pressure once again from Happy Meal. He has lost the DRS towards Lucas, so it looks like he's struggling in terms of long-term pace. We know how effective the turbulent air is around here at any race circuit, and being stuck behind a car for a long period of time can overheat your tyres, overheat your engine, and Mark is certainly suffering. So Happy Meal could be on the prowl to get after Mark for P7 and hunt down the rest of them, but the first thing he needs to do is overtake Mark, which is difficult as he got himself back in that DRS range.
Indeed, he has now within 0.6 of a second of Lucas. Lucas already with a 3-second time penalty, far from ideal. Now, after only 5 laps of racing, you really don't want to get a penalty that early on in the race. So he's going to pay the price for that at the end of the race. As they're fighting once again, Mark and Happy Meal on the inside. This time it's Happy Meal on the outside. We'll turn to the inside to this kink. It's very close between the two of them. Happy Meal now with a huge, with some ERS usages, and does get the position eventually. He's now with the P7, as he did get the jump finally with the help of DRS, which Mark did. I thought he had it, but apparently not enough to withstand the attack from Happy Meal, who now desperately trying to get back within DRS range of Lucas to prevent a re-attack happening from Mark, but I don't think he's got it. No, he hasn't. 1.3 seconds away still from the Williams, so Mark might see the opportunity to get back ahead of the Ripple, but really these two should work together in order to catch up to the rest of the field up ahead with the top 6 in close contention of each other. But it's Kevin still leading and now ahead of Kick and Erik 0.8 of a second away. But let's see if Mark, he's not close enough. He hasn't got the battery to battle it out with Happy Meal, so he's just going to follow him through. Then Geitekas and Fireblaze close behind as well. Fireblaze almost hitting the back there of the Alpine. Just up ahead, and he's going very wide there. Geitekas coming through the turn 2. Behind it, Sasha fighting it out with Thijs. He's on the outside though of the Kick Sauber of turn 15. Up ahead, Fireblaze goes up the inside of Geitekas and makes it work with a great exit. Normally you would think the car on the outside would have the better exit. Fireblaze making it work, and so does Sasha. He goes up at the P11 now, ahead of Thijs, as Fireblaze with a bold move has found his way past the Alpine to make his way up at the P9 and can now try and chase after Mark, as Happy Meal has just missed out on DRS, I think by 1,000th of a second to Lucas, so still not within that DRS range, but he's getting closer. But now we'll lose a few tenths once again down the start-finish rate, as the cars ahead of them all have that DRS that helped them getting the speed up. And there behind it is JSR Green going side by side with Sasha Blaze through turn 1. He's going to try and make it to the inside, but you really don't want to go side by side towards the S's, but he's going to try regardless. But Sasha Blaze is going to stay ahead, just ahead there, coming into turn 4, and remains in 13th place. Quite a few drivers already with time penalties. Sasha Blaze is one of them, and so is Geitekas, Lucas, JSR Green, Mominik, and Octavia, of course, who made that early pit stop. Or actually, when he served that drive-through penalty, he picked up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit. And Happy Meal still not close enough, and in fact he's 1.2 seconds away, and looks like he's unable at the moment to get anywhere near the time of Lucas. In the meantime, Erik is struggling to stay close to Kick and Kevin, and Kick is really starting to put the pressure on the Alpine up ahead, who is now starting to hold off or back up into the Williams. So Erik is able to get close again, as Sasha now fights it out with Thijs, the second Ferrari fighting it out with the Kick Sauber, trying to go around the outside of turn 13, but Thijs remains ahead. He's going to send one to the inside. He's going to try and go for it. There's almost contact between the two. Thijs having to take some avoiding action. Now on the exit, he's got the inside line in towards the triple right-hander as they go side by side, so close between the two. And Thijs goes around almost as he spins half as Kevin is into the pit lane at the end of lap 6. That is incredibly early for his first pit stop, but Tyson there spinning almost fully around, but Kevin in the Alpine, not sure why he would go in quite early, because that would indicate that he's trying to go for a 2-stop potentially. I'm not too sure, but Kevin at the end of lap 6 from the lead of the race, making his pit stop and coming out in P15 and will be in traffic in a few laps time.
Quite an interesting early strategy call there for Kevin Zunderberg, and I think the hardcore power tyres can go to the end with a bit of a meticulous and tyre strategy involved as well. Tyre saving, down in P16. So let's see if that plays advantage. He's got Colin right in front of him and tyre saving good measure and a 2-kick Sabres as well. So let's see if that's the right strategy call or not. I'm a bit concerned about his tyre wear, whether he can make it towards the end or not. But I won't make it towards the end, definitely not. But him, well, he's a different breed, a different caliber, and a much better driver than me, so he knows better. And we'll see if the strategy pays dividends or not. And we'll see if any of the guys ahead decide to respond. These guys all stalemate so far, being stuck in this DRS train. And I know how it feels, because I've been in a race myself here in USA, and I was in third place the whole time. Literally, I was stuck in third place the whole time and trying to attack second and first, but I couldn't. And that's the power of the DRS, and it's just so frustrating. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it whatsoever. You're just hoping that the guys ahead just start fighting out all the time, and you look for an opportunity and you go through as well. But now it's interesting, because let's see if these guys decide to pit. And no, they elongate their first stint. I presume these guys, every single one of them, going to go for a one-stop strategy, but it looks like Colin's made a mistake. He has. He spun at the exit of turn 15, and that's not good news whatsoever. Didn't Kimi Anthony spin there with Carlos Sainz? He did back in 2025 last year. It is, but Sasha is in the pit lane, and so is Mark. So one lap later than Kevin Zunderberg, they've gone for a potential undercut, because sometimes when the guys behind are stuck in a DRS train, they look for other alternatives and they look for other strategy and options as well. So they're going to perform the undercut as Kevin goes very deep in towards turn 1 there. The hardcore power tyres maybe not warm up just yet for the liking of his Alpine there in P12. But 20 laps on those hardcore power tyres is a mighty long stint, but if anybody can do it, it's definitely Kevin Zunderberg. He's in an esports team. He's in PSG left 2, I think he is. So he can definitely do some magical things around here. And let's see if it pays dividends. But Mark has rejoined in P15. Remember, he was on that DRS train behind Kevin and co. But he's rejoined all the way back in towards P14. Sasha is in P17 on a new set of the hardcore power tyres. The undercut is very effective around here, as Kik and Eric can swap places for first and second place then. They go side by side. This is not really ideal. I think they should remain as they are for the time being. Don't scrap it out, because you don't want to lose too much time knowing that Kevin Zunderberg is released and in fresh air, whilst these two are fighting for first and second place. A Kik hit the back of Eric and turned him into a ghost momentarily, but he's back solid now and remains in P2, whilst Miles Mackis, once again like he did in Australia, is sat waiting behind for something to happen with these guys in front. But let's see if these guys decide to pit on this lap. Yes, Eric is. Kik and Miles and Olai is staying. Now, what's Lucas doing in P5? He decides to stay out too. He did pick up a 3-second penalty early on in this race, and that's going to be a burden to him later on as well. So you have to pay the consequences later on and repercussions for that, for picking up a penalty early in the race. Penalties can be notorious around here. It is so easy to pick up a penalty because the concentration is so high, the pressure is so high too, and one simple mistake, one simple misjudgment can ultimately lead up to a 3-second penalty, which you can ill afford in the race. But Eric rejoins in P11. Look at the gap between him and Kevin. It's 3.7 seconds there between Eric and Kevin Zunderberg. The difference in tyres is only 2 laps as well, which is not a huge difference, but can be a little bit of a help as well, as Thomas has retired in the pit, unfortunately, and that's his race done and dusted, and he's out on his debut here in SDN Division 1. But so far it is Kik who leads Miles Mackis. I think they're going to pit around lap 10, 11 or 12 area to give themselves a tyre offset towards the end and catch after Kevin. And let's see if Kevin, if he does decide to go towards the end, whilst Miles and Kik are swapping place for first and second place, Miles now inherits the lead of the Grand Prix. But Kevin, when it comes to the latter part of the race, will he suffer on tyre wear, or will he just make it through? Is this a master core strategy from Kevin Zunderberg in first place, or in 10th place, shall I say?
Well, there must be some thought about it, but it's definitely a peculiar situation with some of the drivers going quite early and the rest of them staying out for a couple of laps longer. So it really is going to come out together at the very end of the race. And let's see if anyone is going to put a pit in. Nobody is, except for Happy Meal in the Red Bull in P5. He is going to make his pit stop, but still, it is Mels, Marcus, Kik, Olijvode and Lucas and Fireblaze all staying out. So both Williams, both Mercedes remaining out on track, going on to lap 10. But Happy Meal making his pit stop then onto a brand new set of hards. And let's see where he's going to come out. Should be behind Erik and still ahead of Mark.
Don't worry, my TV was about to turn off, don't worry. Keep going.
Alright then. So Happy Meal comes out behind Mark and actually behind Mark, so only by a few tenths of a second, but still ahead of Geitengaas by a good 6 seconds, who finds himself in a battle now with Sasha for B13. Sasha Goed, that is, as they continue to scrap it out there outside the top 10, but still the top 8 need to make a pit stop. And it's really two groups here with the top 5 and then Sasha, Jason Green and Muminic in 6, 7 and 8. And then it's Kevin in that train as well in P9, but he's now run into some traffic. And it's going to be difficult to get past as Mels re-overtakes Kik for the lead of this race. And let's see if Kevin, having to use the entirety of his battery to get close, but he's not going to be close enough to make the move on Muminic, who's still ahead. As he can try and send one to the inside, that is from so far back. And Muminic having to get out of the way to avoid making contact with the Alpine. But that is a bold move from the Alpine. And he does get ahead though. Is he going to send to the inside there of the Aston Martin now as well? No, he isn't, because the Aston Martin covers off the inside line. But now the exit will be there for Kevin. He's going to have the better traction on this set of hards. But the Aston Martin is still there on the inside. But he's going to go all the way around the outside. And he's going to have the inside line for the penultimate corner. And Kevin is going to get that position. In the meantime, Olijvode, Lucas and Fireblaze all making their pit stop as well. Kevin now only just at the back of Sasha Place. But he's going to make light work of that. Down the start-finish straight. Going on to lap 11. With the help of DRS, will pull to the inside. And he's going to get that position quite easily to get up into P3 as Sasha Place on his older tires cannot really defend and don't really want to defend where you're on such old tires. Here's your green continuing on as well on those mediums, but Olijvode coming out in P9, going quite deep in turn 1 with Lucas closely behind, and then Fireblaze in 11, so coming out in 9, 10 and 11, still ahead though of Sasha and Geitengaas, but all behind the likes of Happy Meal, Mark and Erik. And Erik, he is still around 4 seconds or 5 seconds behind Kevin, who's in clean air now and can try and chase after Kik. But I think Kik and Mels will make their pit stop before the Alpine gets to them. But it's quite interesting to see the gap between Mels and Kevin is only 7.5 seconds. And that being said, whilst they were in a fight with each other at the beginning of this race, Geitengaas just picked up another 3-second time penalty, making his evening even worse, as he's now got 6 seconds to be added at the end to his race time. But I think it's a matter of time before Mels and Kik make their pit stop, probably at the end of this lap, going up to lap 12. But they will only have to do 17 laps on the hards, and Kevin has to do 21 or 22 at least. So they will definitely have the tire advantage towards the end, but they will be quite far behind. And Mels gets a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting on the inside of the final corner. I've never seen that before, but it just went over the white line and picks up a 10-second time penalty for corner. That is quite a harsh penalty, it must be said. But that has absolutely ruined his chances of winning this race or even getting a podium as he comes back out on track ahead of Kik, just about there, as he teleports back behind the Mercedes. But that is so unfortunate. Meanwhile, that is Happy Meal getting ahead of Mark, as Geitengaas has retired from the session, will not continue on, as Mels and Lucas going side by side. Lucas with the warmer tires tries to get on the inside, but Mels has the inside line for the SS. You really want to go side by side through here. There's a bit of contact between the two, as Lucas slightly taps the rear end there of Mels, but he's going to be able to stay ahead. But with that 10-second time penalty, that is really going to cost him at the end, and it's so unfortunate. Just going over that white line and picking up a 10-second time penalty.
Imagine if it was a double blunder for him. If he picked up 2 penalties for speeding the pit lane and corner cutting. Imagine that. But luckily, he's only done what I say. Luckily, unfortunately, it's just one of them. And Erik's right behind the Ferrari. It should be easy pickings for him. He goes up into P2. But there's a 2-lap time difference between Kevin and Erik. The gap is 4.4, so that's a lot of time to make up. But I wonder how significant the time drop-off may be. Has Kevin pulled an absolute blinder by pitting early and leaving his rivals behind as well and build up such a big gap that it might be difficult for those people to bring it down as well? We know he's got monumental tire saving, monumental pace. He's an absolute beast, is Kevin Zodenberg. Hence why he's a champion last season with 10 wins, excluding a couple of sprint wins as well, because I think he picked up like 2 or 3 sprint wins along the way. But the gap is 4.5 there. between Eric and Kevin, and there's 15 laps left to go in this race. Sasha and JSR Green haven't pitted just yet. They're going for a mighty long way on those mid-car powered tyres. They're following each other, but we saw how big the drop-off was because Kick and Miles Mackis, they were struggling massively on those old mid-car powered tyres. They were sliding all over the place. That was only like Telep mid-car powered tyres too, so they really couldn't live with it. And I wonder if they're still out there too long. Should they follow Kevin in, or should they pitted one lap later? But who knows now? It's all said and done. But Kick is right behind his teammate of Lucas there. So let's see how both Williams play this out. They've got Miles Mackis in P8 behind Ollie, who pitted one lap before them. Ollie's jumped all four of them as well, Miles, Lucas and Kick. So he's in a really good position so far in this race. Sasha, however, in P3 has just picked up a penalty. The wrong Sasha, sorry. Sasha Hood has picked up a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately for him. Down in P12, whilst his teammate is going for a long stint on those mid-car pod tyres. Still got some good pace, but Happy Meal's right behind both of them. Here he is there with the DRS wide open. Here comes Happy Meal. Here comes the Aston Martin. Is it 3 abreast? No, because the Aston Martin stays behind him as Happy Meal takes both of them on as he puts himself up into P3 now, chasing a potential podium in this race. One of those people that pitted quite early on in this race. It's paid dividends for him so far, and there's a big gap between himself and the guys behind too. But Sasha and JSR Green are probably obstacles in the way for the guys behind too, because Mark now is the next person to get past those two on the mid-car pod tyres. An obstruction in the way, which cost him a lot of pace indeed. So Red Bull 2 and 3, Happy Meal and Eric there showing some good pace once again. Happy Meal still going for his first win in SDN, but it's becoming unlikely as those two are now in the pit lane to get rid of the mid-car pod tyres. So they should be quick towards the end. We are now reaching the halfway point of this race, and the story is Kevin Zundberg pitted early in this race on lap 7. And he pulled the undercut, and he's built up such a big lead and a massive gap that even when he does have the tyre drop off, he might be safe towards the end of the race because he's had such good pace as well. He tried to break out the DRS range of the guys behind. He almost did on a few occasions, but the guys behind just managed to hold on to his tail. But we'll see towards the end of the race how good or bad Kevin's tyres are. You know, the hardcore powered tyres can go a long way in any race, but here in USA, this track is absolutely brutal in terms of tyre wear. So we'll see if Kevin can survive or not. I think he will survive, but he might have to pay the price towards the end of the race, and the guys behind could potentially catch up towards the end as well. But if Kevin wins this race on those old hardcore power tyres, full respect and credit to him. He pulled a strategy, he dictated this race, he made the calls. But now, towards the end of the race, it's all about survival and holding on. Eric is closing down slowly but surely as well.
The gap is down to 3.9 seconds between Kevin and Eric, but Eric is struggling a little bit as well with the rear end for a brief moment. But he, like you said, he is closing that gap down a little bit every single lap, gaining attention too. So he's starting to get closer to the back of the Alpine. Happy Meal in P3 now in cleaner as well, around 4 seconds behind his team. It's similar to the gap between Eric and Kevin. Then is Mark in 5th place now, getting held up a little bit there behind Sasha and Jason. Really ruined it for him because now he's got this entire train behind him within DRS range, and it's going to be a matter of time before Mels in the life where he will try to get past. Mels now using that DRS to get close to the back of the Aston Martin and might try and move on the back straight if he gets close enough. And it's Oliveri close behind, and the two Williams of Lucas and Kick here in P8 would like to get up the order as quickly as possible. Now right now a little bit stuck in this DRS train behind his teammate and ahead of Fireblaze, and then Sasha just at the end of this DRS train in P10. But it's all forming now behind Mark, but the gap's 0.5 of a second between himself and Mels. Will it be enough though for the Mercedes driver to try and make the move on the Aston Martin coming out of turn 11 on the run towards turn 12? Meanwhile, the gap between Kevin and Eric has remained quite similar still. Once again, 3.9 seconds. Here comes Mels using the battery and the DRS in the slipstream to get close to the inside of the Aston Martin. Here he goes on the inside in towards turn 12, and it's an easy overtake, and Mels is up at the P4 and can now try and chase after Happy Meal in P3. Of course, with that 10-second time penalty, it won't really matter for him. But let's see what his pace is going to be like on this set of hards with that 4-lap tire advantage compared to Mark. What Mels and Kick, they came into the pit lane right behind each other, and now Mels is in P4 in clean air, and Kick is still stuck in P8 behind Lucas, Oliveri and Mark.
I was literally just thinking the same thing. I thought that, and you said it.
That's quite a coincidence, yeah. But we're on lap 60 now of 28. But it is true because Kick is really come off worse in this situation. Still down at P8 and just impossible to overtake as the penalties really coming in very quickly. With a lot of drivers already with a time penalty, only a handful without one, including the top 3 right now. Kevin, Erik, Happemil, and Olijvoort is still there in P6. Can get a good result here in the McLaren. And Kick and Fireblaze as well. Fireblaze, of course, quite consistent as always. And you do barely see him picking up that time penalty. And TVH, that must be said, must be fair play to him down at P18. He's in last place, but he hasn't got a 3-second time penalty just yet. But the gap at the front has grown a little bit once again between Kevin and Erik. Erik now 4.3 seconds behind, and it's really Steve Hitchin has retired from the session after I said he's doing a good job, but Happemil is gaining time on his teammate. The gap was around 4 seconds a lap or two ago. Now it's down to 3.4. So could it be Happemil that could be the threat towards Kevin, or can Erik find some pace and close that back down, that gap back down towards the Alpine? But the fight behind Mels still continuing on, but Mark remaining in DRS range is not helping the likes of Kick and Olijvoort, as they really cannot get past as long as the Aston Martin has got that DRS. So they still have to stare at the back of the Aston Martin. He's threatening to fall behind now with 9/10 of a second being the gap towards the Mercedes, whose gap now is 3.1 towards Happemil. But we come on to lap 17. Kevin still in the lead, and the gap to Erik has pretty much remained the same with 12 laps to go. So will he hold on? When will his tires fall off? And can Erik get close enough to have a real opportunity to try and take away the race win on the final few laps?
Indeed, mate, indeed. The gap is still 4 seconds between Kevin and Erik, so Kevin keeping that gap stable and not allowing the Red Bull to gain any sort of pace. Indeed, we've got Colin versus Octavia down there for P16. Let's see what they're doing in the nice, lovely Racing Bull livery. They're still going for P15 and P16 and 17, those two are. With Sheepy Gamer in 15th place there in the Haas as well. Colin and Octavia continue the battle, but of course Octavia pitted quite earlier than the Haas driver, but the Haas has better tyres, so able to get the move done. Kick is right behind his teammate. They're very close indeed there. Let's see if they swap places. I'm not quite sure why they haven't swapped places just yet. Now they have. I thought they would have done it quite a few laps ago because one, Lucas on all the tyres, two, he's got a 3-second time penalty, and I think three, that Kick overall is quicker. I think Colin's made a mistake at the exit of the final corner. First corner, sorry. There's a Haas who's stationary down at turn 1. He is. Ollie and Mark going at it. Ollie has got past Mark. He puts himself up into P5, whilst Kick is ahead of Lucas for P7. And right behind is Fireblaze. We know what happens when these three get together. It's always a firework display between those guys. An absolute battle between those guys there as well. Kevin Zubberg is in the pit lane. Kevin Zubberg is in the pit. So it was a two-stop strategy for Kevin Zubberg there. Let's see. Right, he's going to be the chaser towards the end of the race. This is a two-stop. I do remember now, in the last couple of games where people pitted on this lap 17, 18, 19, because it was a two-stop a few years ago, but I'm very, very surprised about this as well. 10 laps left to go. Does he think he has the pace to not only hunt these guys down, but overtake them? Plus, when he catches up to them, he's got to be stuck in that DRS train and make his way through. This has completely changed the race trajectory now, and I think that a possibility for a win between the Red Bull drivers is on. Sorry, my voice is going again, but let you have to take over.
Yeah, we've got 11 laps to go, and I do wonder if he's going to be the only one to go for that two-stop, because there's drivers like Mark, who's also done 10 laps now on that sort of hard. He still needs to do 10 more on this tire. So Kevin could be not the only one to go for the two-stop. We'll find out in the next following laps if anyone else is going to follow him. Maybe a few laps later and then go to the mediums for their final stint. We'll don't know right now, but look at this straight still behind Olijvoort now with Mark and then Kick looking to find a way past as soon as possible, because Kevin is only 4 seconds behind Kick. And he's got a 6-lap tire advantage, so Kick is not really in great position right now. He's going to try and send one to the inside of turn 15, and there's almost contact between the two, but Mark will have the better traction on the outside, and Kick will be frustrated with that, as the overtaking attempt did not succeed, and he still has to stare at the back of that Aston Martin as the two Red Bulls leading the way, going on to lap 19 with Erik ahead of Happemil by 2.6 seconds, then Mels 2.9 behind. Then it's Olivodi, a further 3 seconds behind, followed by Mark, Kick, Lucas, and Fireblaze. And now Kevin is 3.2 seconds behind Fireblaze, and he's ready to start to gain time to the top 8. But like you said, he will get stuck. Hello, I don't think he will, but it will be difficult for him to get past all of them in time before he can try and chase after the top 3. So it's not going to be easy for him to get that clean run towards the Mels, Happy Meal and Erik. But right now he's still gaining time very, very quickly. But as soon as he gets to the back, he is going to have to put in some moves at unorthodox places and try and find a way past that way, as Munich picks up another 3 second time penalty. Still P10 though, and running inside the points after getting knocked out in Q1. But there's like Sasha in P13, who just made a got a new brand new set of hearts underneath his Ferrari after going for the 2-stop as well. And Tyson Jason Green, by the way, going for a soft, which is really optimistic, especially seeing that Kevin had to go for a set of hearts and if it on the same lap. So interesting to see where they will be in 5 laps time. And Colin then going for the mediums, which is reasonable. But Kevin now is 1.7 seconds away. He's gained around 1.5 seconds so far on this lap, and he will be right at the back of Fireblaze coming on to the next one. And then he will have 9 laps remaining to not only get past these guys, but then chase after the top 3 as well and get past both of the Red Bulls out in the lead. It's not going to be easy, but with this star advantage, it shouldn't be too difficult, at least to have the pace to get close. But yeah, getting close is one thing, getting past is another one. And that's what he's going to have to face with right now as he gets within the DRS range of Fireblaze. And he's going to have that first DRS on the back straight on lap 20. But at the front, the gap between the 2 Red Bulls has remained similar, 2.5 seconds. Happy Meal is maybe gaining a little bit on Erik, but the last thing these 2 want to do is fight it out when there's an Alpine chasing you for that race win. Melsmack is doing a good job, it must be said. He's broken free of that DRS train. The gap's now 4.2 seconds towards Olivodi. And despite having the 10-second time penalty, of course, he will probably drop outside. Probably end up in P9 due to that penalty. But still showing that he's got great pace and would have been in the fight for the race win had he not got the inside of the final corner on pit entry by a few centimeters, as there's yellow flags for Octavia now entering the pit lane. But we're at the end of lap 20. The Red Bulls out in front. Kevin now 7/10 behind Fireblaze. How quickly can he get past these guys before he can try and chase after the top 3?
If he gets stuck behind these guys, then that's the race over for Kevin Zumberg. His aggressive strategy will not pay off. But I don't think it'll, even if, let's say if he gets past these guys easily, one by one. First up is Fireblaze. Let's see if he can get past him easily, all of them. But if he does, I still don't think he'll win the Grand Prix, despite his blistering pace, even on the old hardcore bar tyres and mediums too. So he's got to do it right now, perform these overtakes, and Happy Meal is getting close towards Erik as well. So let's keep in that battle between the Red Bulls at the front of the field there, with Mel's back as a P3. But Kevin is right behind Fireblaze as we head up towards Turn 1 the hill. Breaks later than the Mercedes driver. He's going side by side out of Turn 1 there, but Kevin Zumberg, you presume, with the better grip, has the better tyres and gets past him, and he puts himself up to the. For 1 second I thought he made the contact at the back of Lucas, but luckily he's able to keep in control and brake in time not to hit the back of the Williams there. So next up is now Lucas in the Williams there. How quickly can he dispatch him to get towards his teammate Kick, Mark and Ola in P4? I don't think Kevin Zumberg is going to win this race. The gap between him and Erik is 11 seconds. Yes, he's gaining a rate of knots, but now he's stuck behind these guys who lose a bit more time there. So now he needs a decent exit out of turn 11 to go, with the DRS wide open, with the battery 2 and the better tyres. There's a hatch spun, which is Colin down there in 17th place. Apologies, my voice is going once again, I don't know why. But here we are, it's a launch up the inside. And he does it. Nice move, goes a bit deep. Can Lucas get it back with a switchback? He can't. Kevin Zumberg is up into P7 ahead of Lucas. That was a dive bomb there for Kevin, but he paid his stip. But not yet. Here comes Lucas down the inside. It's 115 to make contact. Kevin gets off the track there. And this is not good news for Kevin whatsoever, because his race is now being hindered by these guys fighting him. But Kevin now is up into P7. And next target is Kick, while Olive gets a 3 second penalty. So does JSR Green as well, down there in 15th place. But now Kevin Zumberg's next target is kick, and like we saw with the other Williams, it was difficult to get past. I imagine it'd be difficult to get past kick as well. Let's see how difficult it is. As here comes kick up the inside of the Aston Martin, boils him out of the way literally, and he puts himself up into P5. Great racing between the guys here in this DRS train, and Kevin Zumberg's on the back of it too. In hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, but Kevin Zumberg decided to go for a two-stop strategy, and unfortunately, hardcore powered tyres could not make it towards the end, and he had to be forced into a two-stop strategy. Maybe he thought he had the pace to breeze these guys, to get past these guys. I thought those tyres could make it towards the end. Maybe you have to do a bit of time management in the middle stint, but however, he felt like he couldn't do so and had to go on a new set of hardcore powered tyres, and he anticipated that he'd get past these guys without a doubt and without being hindered. But he's suffering a lot of time here. He's stuck behind him. Now, let's see, with the DRS open, can he get past the Aston Martin? Does the DRS the back of kick? It should be easy for him, but the Aston Martin goes left, forcing Kevin to go right. But Kevin Zumberg is easily up into 6th place. That's one of the easiest moves you'll get for Kevin. And now, next target is kick and Ola. What's the gap between himself and Eric? Let's have a look, shall we? Whilst these guys continue to scrap for 5th and 6th place. Here comes kick up the inside of the McLaren driver. Let's see if he makes his stick. Wheel to wheel between those two. No contact indeed, but kick gets a horrible exit and has to stay behind the McLaren driver for the time being. He's desperate to get past, but look at this. Can he go around the outside? Have the inside over this corner? No, he can't. I thought for 1 second he might go down the inside in towards turn 19. That would have been a risky move indeed. It could have been an aeroplane crash between those two, but kick couldn't go down the inside there. And the exit now, the final corner, the DRS wide open. There is 5 laps left to go in this race. Here comes Kevin Zumberg alongside, and he moves up into 5th place. He goes ahead of Kick, which is very important. Next target now is Olai. The gap between Kevin and Eric is 10.8 seconds, and I dare say there is no way in hell that Kevin Zumberg will catch the Red Bull driver. The Red Bull driver, Eric, has driven a strong race so far. An unlikely person to be up there in 1st place, I dare say, because he was stuck behind Kick, Mel's and Kevin as well. But he pitted at the right time and made sure he had no traffic to be disposed of, and he did a fantastic job as well, clearing the traffic and getting ahead of the people he needed to be and pulling away with these guys. He got himself detached from this DRS train, but Happy Meal is pushing the rate of loss because he knows that there's a chance to win this Grand Prix, but there's a big gap between himself and his teammate. The gap is about 2.8 seconds. Here comes Kevin Zundberg now, side by side with Olai. And now he puts himself up into 4th place. Next target is Mels Makis, and he's quite a long way away. He is quite a long way away, actually. Remember, Mels Makis was involved in this battle not long ago, but ever since he got past Olai, he's pulled away and built a massive gap between himself and Olai. But of course, he does have that 10-second penalty. Kevin Zundberg's target now is to try and catch Mels Makis for P3, although he does have that penalty. And Happy Meal on Eric, the gap is still 2.5 seconds. So Eric is doing a solid job so far, keeping the gap stable between himself and Happy Meal, but there is 4 laps left to go in this race. Happy Meal will try and do everything to try and catch his Red Bull teammate as Kevin goes off the track in the final corner, pushing as hard as he can. But his strategy unfortunately hasn't paid dividends. I thought it would, given the pace he had in the first stint, but it turns out it was the wrong strategy in the end, and it looks like Eric will get his first win since the Monza Grand Prix 2 seasons ago. Octavia and Colin are fighting over 16 places, going side by side in the S's, but Colin just squeezes ahead of the Racing Bull driver and puts himself up in 60th place. Meanwhile, we've got JSR Green on the wet compound tyres, so clearly at the wrong event. But look at Mels Makis, he's caught up to the Happy Meal. I didn't even know that. He's right to the back of the Mercedes, the Red Bull's tail. He has got some mighty pace. Do you know what? It's a shame that he picks up that 10-second penalty, because he's on an absolute charge so far. Ever since he got past that company behind him, he's been rolling through the field. And now side by side with Happy Meal, I'm surprised Happy Meal didn't fight that, but he does have a 10-second penalty, so Happy Meal thought better of it and decided not to fight. But Happy Meal almost lost it. And in the background, we can see the Racing Bull and the Haas once again go at it in towards turn 12. Here comes Octavia and Colin side by side again in towards the last sector we go. And looks like the Haas will have the inside line going towards 215, so we have the advantage unless Octavia does the switchback, which he does. They're both ghosted because the leading cars are right behind him of Kevin Zundberg, and they go side by side through this triple right-handed, but Octavia gets ahead for the time. Colin gets ahead for the time being. Whilst Mark and Lucas are going side by side in a triple right-hander. Let's see which one of these two will get ahead. It's going to be Lucas for the time being. Mark is on the old hardcore power tyre, 16-lap hold as he goes back down the inside, but no, Lucas brakes later than the Aston Martin. maintains P7. But I think Mark now is starting to suffer the consequences of those hardcore power tires as we go towards Tier 1. Those two are side by side again as Fireblaze goes up into 8th place. See some battles absolutely everywhere. Miles Mackis is catching as Ally goes side by side with Kick. He gets back ahead of Kick. You know what? It's been a shame for Kick because he was in P2 behind Kevin Zubberg, just following the Dutchman, and he was hoping to try and get something from this race. But ever since that pit stop, ever since going for that long stint, has cost him dearly. And ever since he pitted, he's been stuck in traffic the whole damn time. Is that a Red Bull who spun up there? No, it wasn't. Somebody made a mistake up there in that particular part of the track where the leaders are. I thought it was Eric for 1 second. My heart was going. But Miles Mackis is catching Eric.
Indeed, he is. The gap's only 2 seconds between the two of them. On the last lap, Kevin Zunderberg only gained 1.3 seconds on Eric, so at the moment he's not gaining enough time on the Red Bull driver. Mels is really getting close, and it's really unfortunate for him that he got that 10-second time penalty because he would have been in the fight for the race win. I definitely think he can get close enough on the final lap to maybe attempt to move, but that wouldn't be worth it with that 10-second time penalty. But I think he still can get P4 despite having that 10-second time penalty. In fact, he's already 10 seconds ahead of Kickers. Now goes up the inside there of Alijvoli in towards turn 15. Now he's got the inside line through the stipper right-hander, and he gets the job done finally to take away 5th place as Yellow Flags behind with Fireblaze and Lucas now going side by side through the triple right-hander. Lucas on the inside and towards the penultimate corner. Fireblaze going to try and go all the way around the outside, but runs out of road unfortunately and slots back in behind in P8 in the Mercedes, still without a time penalty, so could get up to P6 if he plays his cards right. But he's got Mark right behind him for company as well, who's completely run out of battery and is suffering from that tire wear, being on those hard tires for 18 laps already. As Erik picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, and that could really ruin his chances because Happemil is only 3.1 seconds away. And there's a similar situation to Melbourne 1 week ago, where Happemil had to get within 3 seconds of Sasha, but then Sasha could get the penalty removed. Of course, we don't know if Erik could do the same thing. But once again, Happemil finds himself within a chance of winning his first race, but his tire wear isn't looking great either, as Mel's gone by relatively easily, and the gap between the two is now 1.7 seconds as well. And at the moment, Erik is doing just enough, but with 3 laps left remaining, it has suddenly got a little bit more difficult for Erik, and he really cannot sit back and relax on these final couple of laps, as the gap now towards Mels is 1.8 seconds. Of course, Mels is no real contender for the race win, but if he starts fighting it out with Erik, then Happemil could profit from that with 3.8 seconds now away, but he is losing time to his teammate. Kevin, once again, he's in P4, 6.5 seconds away with 2 laps to go. Can he gain 3.5 seconds? That is not going to be easy for him. Let's see what the lap times are between the two of them. Erik is going to cross the line for probably a 36.6. And we'll look at Kevin. How much has he gained on the Red Bull on the previous lap? It's going to be a 35.5, so just over 1 second. And that is not going to be enough in these final 2 laps to be able to get within 3 seconds of Erik. So unless Erik really gets those tires off the cliff, then he still should be safe for a race win, because I don't think Happemil can put up a fight against his teammate, because his tires are going off as well, and he's now 3.7 seconds behind and still losing time left and right, although in the first sector he is a little bit quicker, but I think that is because Erik is running a little bit of a lower wing setup, because every lap on the back straight he gains times on his competitors behind, as Mel's now 1.4 seconds behind. Will not be close enough. Well, he might be close enough to overtake on track, but of course with that penalty it will not matter for him, as Happemil will now start to lose a little bit of time, I think, to his team, and yes he does, as it's back down to 3.7. Kevin is going to be close though towards Happemil and might steal away that final spot on the podium. I say final spot on the podium. They both will get on the podium due to Happemil's 10-second time penalty, but on track it might be a battle though for P3, because with this tire advantage I don't think there's much that Happemil can do to defend against the Alpine, who's now really starting to gain time on the cars ahead, but still he would have to gain 2 seconds on Erik on the final lap, which I don't think is going to be doable for him, but he's definitely getting more time than he did on the previous lap, because the gap's now down to 4.9. I think he definitely gains at least 1.5 seconds on the previous lap. It could get very close. Erik setting a 37.0. We'll look at Kevin as he crosses the line to go into the final lap with a 35.3, gained 1.7 seconds, and he's 1.6 behind Erik on Delta, so it could get very close as we go into the final lap of the race here at Kota.
if Happy Meal's a team player, he needs to keep Kevin behind. He needs to fight for his life because Happy Meal is going to allow his teammate to win. That's the only way that Eric is going to win this Grand Prix because Kevin Zundberg is catching a rate of knots as well. So I think Happy Meal has to do Eric a massive favour. He's holding him up in the first set, as you expect as well. So great team play. Not illegal as long as you don't brake check him. It's all good. That's what Happy Meal needs to do. Try and hold up Kevin as much as he can so he doesn't allow Kevin in the wheel tracks of Eric. So it's all down to this. But Happy Meal's going to defend from Kevin Zundberg as much as he can, but I dare say his defence will come to nothing because Kevin Zundberg should breeze through, but I don't think he'll gain 1.6 seconds in the last lap. Happy Meal is defending for his life, knowing that Eric's win is on the line here as well. Here comes Kevin Zundberg. Happy Meal tries to defend, but there's nothing he can do. Kevin goes up into P3. Can he gain 1.2 in the last sector? I don't think he can. And what makes this final lap even more special is the journey Eric has had to get here, knowing all the speed has always been there, but often this season it's been this mistakes, the bad luck, and the moments where the pressure just gets to him and he starts to lose our composure where everything ties up around him. There has been races where Eric's had a car capable of winning and it slipped away. Races where one small error has turned into a massive consequence, and races where things have simply gone wrong against him at the worst possible time. But tonight, coming on to the last lap in Texas, we're seeing a completely different version of him. Calm, cold, controlled and collective. Eric around the final corner, and Eric will win the United States Grand Prix here in Texas, and Kevin Zundberg will finish in P2 by 1/10 of a second. He gained 1.4 in the last lap, and Eric has just scraped the win by the skin of his teeth. Can you believe it? And Happy Meal's defence wasn't worthless at all because he held him up in the first set. So imagine if he didn't. Eric has won since the last 2 seasons at Monza. That was his last win, and he's managed to do it here in USA. And finally he has done it. He nailed the pit timing, broke free from the DRS train, and once he had clean air, he never looked back. And no overdriving, no unnecessary risk, just pure focus and execution. And this is how Eric's race has transformed into a win. He has finally done it after in the last couple of races he's been in SDN. It hasn't always gone his way with mistakes, bad luck, and the pressure, and just lose his composure altogether. He has finally delivered here in COTA, and what a drive of him indeed. Happy Meal is on the podium. It's a Red Bull 1-3, and I think Red Bull were definitely happy as well. And I think Eric should be thanking Happy Meal because that first sector he held him up, which was enough to secure him the win as well. Congratulations to Eric. I think Happy Meal as well. He was fair to Kevin because he wasn't weaving erratically. Yes, he was weaving, but not too erratically. And he didn't really put too much of a fight against Kevin Zundberg because there's nothing he could do, really. Kevin Zundberg was always going to get past Happy Meal, and Happy Meal did everything he can to keep the Red Bull at bay. So, yeah, well done to Happy Meal, well done to Eric, and great team play by Red Bull. And what a shame as well for Kick as well. Pole sitter, but just stuck in the traffic, and he couldn't go anywhere whatsoever in that race. He was just stuck there the whole time. But Happy Meal from P10 to P3, great job. Kevin Zundberg will be disappointed to lose the win by 0.2 of a second, Milan.
Yeah, this race really couldn't take a lap longer or Eric would have lost that win. In the chat, Mels seems quite confident that he can get that 10-second time penalty removed. If he can, then he would be the winner. But that's not something that we will see after the steward decision. So it could be a second race in a row where the win is decided by the stewards. But we'll see. But it's regardless, it's an incredible drive from Eric, holding off the pressure from the drivers behind and doing just enough to maintain his position ahead of Kevin. Like you said, just under 0.2 to the Alpine. He went for the 2-stop. It was an optimistic strategy and it almost paid off, but just not quite. And Happy Meal from 10th on the grid, must be said, a strong podium for him and a second podium to kickstart his season with. So definitely a good start of season for Red Bull as well. With Eric now winning here at COTA. But definitely was another entertaining race. And I'm really looking forward to next week and what the rest of the season has in store for us.
Indeed, then. Another new winner. Well, not new winner. He's a returning winner. Is Eric. His first win since Monza 2 seasons ago. And he has finally done it. It's been such a long time since his last win, of course. He's made a lot of mistakes along the way. But put them all to bed, literally, as well. And considering that, I think he is he a pad driver, Milan?
Eric?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so. No, he's definitely quick. He's always quick in qualifying. In the races, sometimes he struggles a little bit.
I think you misheard me.
Yeah. Eric, or who else did you mention?
What did you think I said?
Is he a bad driver? That's what you said, I think.
Pad driver.
A bad driver. I don't know, actually. I don't know, so maybe he will tell you, but he's definitely a bad driver, especially after tonight, so apologies for that. But yeah, he did a great job regardless. If he is a bad driver, it will be even more impressive, knowing that the tire wear is even higher on the controller, but still a great race for him regardless.
Yeah, indeed. I've tried to get him in a party, but I don't think he wants to speak to us, unfortunately. So yeah, that's Eric's chances of a podium interview gone. But he doesn't really speak to us anyway, because I don't think he's confident in terms of his English skills. So fair enough. But that's it then from us. The next race is at the Austrian Grand Prix, and we know what happens in Austria. It's always a brilliant race down there too, in the Styrian Hills. We see some plenty of great racing in the past, in the deed, and I think we saw that Lucas and Kick went at it as well with Eastman a couple of seasons ago. So I'll join you back at the Austrian Grand Prix, and I hope that I can finally recover, because obviously my voice just keeps going and my voice hasn't recovered just yet. So hopefully we're back to normal in a couple of weeks. I'm still ill, but not too much, and I'll see you all next week at the Austrian Grand Prix. But before I say that, Milan Langer, an absolute pleasure to commentate with you, mate.
Yeah, as always, and I agree, and looking forward to the next one.
Dankjewel. Ik spreek je later. Tot ziens. Doei.